He backed Mark Shuttleworth's exchange control case. He sold his company Gyft, a company he founded, to the United States' largest credit card processing company for over $50 million, or let's call it 550 million rand to use real currency. This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield, and I'm joined by the Dragon's Den star, as he now is, Vinny Lingham, to share a success story of epic proportions. It all started in South Africa, but you took your tech knowledge to the United States, 10 years ago, Vinny?
About 7 years ago.
And what was the first startup? What was the first Vinny Lingham startup in the United States?
Well, it's actually a long story, but I started at the beginning. About 11 years ago, I started a company called Clicks to Customers in Cape Town, and an associated company called Incubator, which we built out of Cape Town, but we really had clients around the world. So we had clients in the States, largely in the UK. I mean, this is the days of search engine marketing in 2003. I mean, no one even knew what I was talking about. So in South Africa, I couldn't get any clients. I had a lot of clients worldwide. We went from, within 4 years, 2003, 2007, $10 million a year in sales. But I think we had one client in South Africa, which was Europcar. So it was an interesting journey of trying to explain to people what search engine marketing was in the early days. And so at that point, I just realized that I want to be in Silicon Valley, where things are moving a bit faster and the world is a bit more ahead of where we were. So started Yola.com and basically moved out to Silicon Valley, based myself out there since then. That's been about 7 years, and I stepped down from Yola about 3 years ago to start Gyft, and so that's been my second company in the US. Now
the right decision then, because you've been instrumental in the startup of Silicon Cape. Of course, you invested money in the early days there, and I think you're happy with the progress that you're seeing coming through this through Silicon Cape and the innovation that's happening in places like Cape Town and Stellenbosch, and there is a nice pocket of technology innovation in Johannesburg. But Silicon Valley must be another story altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when I was living in the States for about a year, when I came up with the concept of Silicon Cape with Justin Stanford of 40i Capital, and he's a VC based in the Silicon Cape in Cape Town, and the two of us said, look, let's just have a launch of this organization, which will try and promote and create a platform for technology and innovation in South Africa, and we'll headquarter it in Cape Town because that's kind of where we've been working out of. And in 5 years, we've gone from literally, I think 500 people at the launch party to, I think 500 to 1,000 people at the launch party, to 8,500 members across the country are interested in part of companies building technology in South Africa. So even though I've been in Silicon Valley 7 years now, I'm very close to what happens in South Africa, and very much looking at the future of what South Africa can do in the technology world.
Well, what keeps you interested in South Africa, though? Because your future could very well be a United States future. You've come back, of course, you continue to invest, you continue to keep an interest in South Africa. You've participated recently in the South African version of Dragon's Den as well. Why not just turn your back on us and go and make your millions?
Well, it's hard. I mean, I just can't get rid of my South African accent.
No, that's also
I lived here 28 years, and when people ask me where I'm from, it's very clearly, and most people think I'm from India by looking at me in Silicon Valley, but clearly I'm not. So it's a place near and dear to my heart. I grew up here, close friends, families all year. Travel back 2 or 3 times a year. So although from a career perspective, I want to be based out in Silicon Valley for the future, for the foreseeable future at least, I can definitely see myself returning to South Africa at some point. So why not keep ties close?
Now, Gyft is the most recent business that you've built and subsequently sold. It's a digital gift card service. It's something that you believe has got strong legs in the United States. Facebook tried it, and I think they either shut it down or sold their gift card business, their digital gift card business. You've gone into that business as well. Harder than it looked from the outside?
Absolutely. I mean, we started this in 2012, at the start of 2012, and we built it out with using developers in Cape Town. So we had soft developers and programmers in Cape Town as an engineering base. Obviously, the company was headquartered in the US, but we really took on all the big guys, and we built this literally from scratch. And Facebook tried, a number of other companies tried to do what we did, and at the end of the day, we were the successful startup in this space, and First Data Corporation processes $1.2 trillion a year in payments worldwide. And when they started looking at what we were doing with the gift card business, mobile gift cards, it was really the movement of gift cards in the physical realm to digital realm, at which we sort of pioneered that space. We were one of the first companies to go and build technology that can allow that. And when they saw what we were doing and we met them, it was just a great partnership, and we decided to leverage their platform and global footprint and join the First Data Group and build a company under their wing.
Now, that's got to be a huge vote of confidence then in the capacity and the ability of the coders, the techies in Cape Town to provide globally competitive tech product.
Absolutely. I mean, the issue in South Africa isn't the lack of skills. It's some of the regulatory frameworks that are in place that prevent South African companies from really flourishing internationally. And so some of those walls are coming down, but most of them are still there. It's very hard for South Africans to move into Silicon Valley and any other part of the world and build technology businesses, even leveraging South Africa. And there's quite a lot of know-how that's required. But I'm very excited about what I'm seeing in the local technology scene. I think we're lagging a bit on consumer adoption. Internet's still a problem. When I come back here, I want to kind of pull my hair out at how slow some of the internet is and some of the problems. I mean, I have a lot of problems getting connected when I'm in Cape Town, and so it's still nascent. But I think I'm seeing a lot of good things happening. E-commerce is definitely taking off in this country at a level which I had not anticipated for many more years. But it's happening. And look, it's happening a little bit slower than I'm hoping for right now. But I think it's 30% a year is still great growth. So there's a lot of opportunity to invest in local companies here.
One looks at it also from the perspective of the Mark Shuttleworth case. Mark Shuttleworth going to the Supreme Court of Appeal in the last 2 weeks, winning his case against the Reserve Bank to get his 250 million rand plus interest paid back to him. He's putting it into a fund so that South Africans can fight constitutional court cases against the government. You supported him in that. Was it financial support? He didn't need it. Or was it just vocal support from another tech entrepreneur, South African entrepreneur, obliged to take his skills elsewhere?
Yeah, just purely moral and vocal support. I mean, in the local communities, I think what Mark has done is amazing. I mean, Mark's another entrepreneur who's he's never turned his back on South Africa. He had many good reasons for leaving the country. I won't, myself and many other people don't hold it against him. I mean, some of the exchange controls were ridiculous. And he's contributed back home in many other ways. He invested in my first company, Click to Customers, as well, through HPD. So, and he's one of those guys who I've always looked up to since I think I emailed him the first time I was about 18 years old or 19 years old. And he replied and gave me some great advice, which I've kept over the years.
And then give me a sense of Dragon's Den. Dragon's Den, we know the UK franchise very well. It's a concept that came out of Japan, I think. The first season has been shot in South Africa. We've seen a couple of episodes on our screens. You've made a couple of investments so far through that Dragon's Den platform. Has it been a worthwhile exercise for you, or is it all showbiz?
It was one of the best experiences of my life. I enjoy being up there and just getting pitched by dozens of budding entrepreneurs and some great entrepreneurs as well. And I've made more investments than I expected to make. It's pretty exciting. I think the first couple of episodes, I think I'm featuring about 2 investments, and there's a lot more to come over the next 9 episodes or 8 episodes, whatever's left. Very exciting stuff. I mean, there's some really great entrepreneurs.
But this is real money. This is cash money that you've got to invest in businesses, and businesses in which you will have to take some form of interest into the future to protect those investments as well. Do you have the time? Do you have the capacity to play the Alan Sugar role, to take another reality show, and to really stay invested emotionally and, of course, financially?
Yeah, so obviously it's making that number of investments. I needed a partner, so I partnered with Lou Klassen, a very old friend and former co-founder of mine with Click to Customers, and we've set up Newtown Partners in Cape Town. It's basically a private private venture capital business where we invest in these startups through Dragon's Den, and when he manages and works with the startups on the ground while I'm in Silicon Valley, and I make regular trips back to South Africa, 2 or 3 times a year to meet with them. But largely, I invest in people that are going to be successful without my help. And that's the whole point. You find good, solid entrepreneurs that they don't need you to be successful. They need some money, and anything else you can add over and above that is going to be great for them. I do obviously keep an eye on what the guys are doing. I get a regular report and work with Lou on the ground to make sure that these guys are well supported and well connected. And there's some amazing opportunities coming out there, and I think there's some great companies that I'm glad to be the guy trying to back the next generation of successful entrepreneurs, and I think that's why Dragon's Den for me is such an important show to be on. It's one of my favorite shows in the US is Shark Tank, which is the US version of Dragon's Den. I've watched 6 seasons of that, and when the opportunity came to be on Dragon's Den South Africa, it was an easy yes. So how do we be part of the next generation of entrepreneurs and backing guys who can't get finance through the traditional routes and through the venture capitalists in South Africa who aren't really supporting these startups in the ways that they should be?
Did you say routes? I think you just said routes, didn't you? You Americanized roots.
You know,
you said route.
7 years, sorry man, a couple of words slip by.
But do you have an entrepreneurial optimism for South Africa? Because you're not going to throw money, I'm sure you're not throwing more than, I don't know, 10 or 20 million rand of your own money into South African venture capital. Perhaps you're throwing a bit more in, I don't know. Time will tell as the series progresses, but it's real money. You've got to have some sense of optimism about the ability of South Africans to rise above the politics, the lousy economy and the environment in which we're operating.
I do. I think we have a great constitutional democracy. I think, again, what Mark's doing is fantastic, and I think that you'll see a lot more defense of the Constitution happening over the years, and I think that gives me strong sort of impetus to invest in South Africa. I think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of look, the whole world's got problems. I think what South Africa's got is a relatively low debt to GDP ratio. I think it's like 42%, 43%. As long as they manage that correctly, I think the country's got a lot of good upside. I think crime is obviously a problem, but it is coming down to some extent. And I think technology is getting cheaper. So as technology gets cheaper in other parts of the world and comes to South Africa, it improves lives. And if you look over time how medical technology and information technology is changing the world, I think South Africa is well positioned. We are growing slower than the other African countries. I think we have very conservative regulatory environment, which is hampering it. I think we've got, in my view, I see a lot of apartheid era laws still being sort of enforced for no reason. No one's really thought through and how do we take some of these laws down. And I think that the government needs to take a real look at what's hampering growth in this country and how do we remove laws instead of enacting new ones.
Tech entrepreneur Vinny Lingham, thank you very much for joining us in Cape Town. Nice to see you once again. And thank you also for watching. There'll be more tonight, tomorrow. Till then, good night and goodbye.